Hi there. So I want to show you an experiment that I've been poking around with. Not 100% sure if it's actually viable, but it's kind of working. Maybe this is just a failed experiment. I'm just sharing kind of what I've discovered. So I was looking at using Browserify, and I really like working in DevTools, coding directly into DevTools and having that saved to disk and reload in memory. And the problem that I've got with Browserify is that there's this compile step. Source maps don't work reliably for me. They may work for you. There may be other solutions I haven't come across yet. But I wanted some kind of like development mode where I could use require, use modules that look like that use CommonJS, and use that for dev and actually work in DevTools, and then move to production mode, which would then kind of create a Browserify bundle. So I've written my own little require.js module, and I'll go into that, come into that later. And I borrowed the example actually on Browserify, which pulls in this unique library. I've added another library called foo. If I just show you foo, so foo's just got this via foo, and so on. And if I run this, yep, you can see the unique now loaded. It's a console log in the unique function, which calls foo.1. It also requires foo, so we have foo.1 and foo.2, and at.js actually doing a console log. But there's kind of a weird couple of things that happen here. Like you might have noticed that this is now switched to the VM, which does and doesn't always happen. So let's just reload this again. Now it seems to be stuck on the VM. We take foo and just click on the console log. Let's change this to be foo save. Just hit Command S, hitting reload. It has actually saved that. Let's see if we can save this as well. It doesn't like that is. Oh, there we go. So the VM's vanished here. We've got console log now loaded. Is loaded. Hit refresh. Seems to work, but it keeps switching back and forth between the VM, like the one that's loaded in memory rather than the actual file here. So cool. So when I close this and reopen it, sometimes it does actually get rid of the VM part, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not 100% sure why and how it works, but I found it works better if I don't use the map network. So if I don't do map to file system, but just do save as and give it kind of a one-to-one binding, it seems to work. And what seems to work is basically what require.js is doing is really, really simple, and obviously the path stuff isn't kind of fleshed out yet, but it just does an XHR synchronous GET request, takes the code. If there's no source URL, it appends a source URL, and then evals the code. And that code gets evaled within this context, I think, and we have our module, and we'll just return our module exports, and it kind of works. I haven't done any kind of real stress testing. I haven't required really complicated apps. This is only for client-side code, so obviously Browserify does magic with things like, the FS library and all that kind of stuff. This doesn't do any of that. This is just for client-side code, but it sort of works. I wouldn't say it really works. And then sometimes this whole thing gets stuck. Like I can't save at times. So I've gone into kind of a weird place in DevTools where some stuff is starting to lose state. But still, a little experiment. I'll pop the code up online as well for you to have a poke around, and maybe worth looking at. Maybe it'll actually flesh out and be usable. Who knows? We can do console log foo.val, We can have a look at that every, I don't know, 400 milliseconds. Ah, see, that didn't even save. Let's just do console log foo.val. Yeah, so that said didn't save because I haven't got mappings. Just do a straight file, save as. I guess when I return to this project, it would lose that save as mapping, I guess. It kind of works. You can see the line numbers, which is basically the line numbers are the hard part. Console. Right, let's see if we can foo.to. Line numbers was the important bit, basically, and it seems to just about work. Anyway, I'll pop this up on my blog with the code. Have a look. Like I said, a bit of a failed experiment, but it seems to be doing something. If anyone wants to take it further, please do. Cheers, bye.